Did you know back in the 70s, Clark Kent quit the Daily Planet and was working for WGBS News as a news anchor? Because DC Comics thought that being a newspaper reporter was too old fashioned. They thought the print industry was dying, and whew, maybe they were just a little ahead of their time. But does that job matter?
And welcome back to the heart of the stories we tell. I'm Rob the host, and this is another look deep into what makes a story, a theory on storytelling by a storyteller who believes that every story has merit. And tonight's episode is...
Jobs our characters have and why it matters. And I don't think I ever put too much thought into this. What's the difference between being a stay-at-home mom and a billionaire? At the end of the day, you have all the time in the world to have wacky plans. And yeah, the first time I talked about characters, I compared Don Quixote, Batman, and Lucy, and everyone got a good joke out of that. And even beyond that, I've talked about what it means to be a character in many different ways, including the difference between pro and antagonist, the idea of static and dynamic. But I never thought about, what does your job say about you? And I want you to think about you yourself for a minute here. What percentage of your life do you spend at work? What percentage of your information comes into you, how you deal with people, from your work? Over on Supergirl, I made reference to the fact that she's an adult, not a teen like she is, so she's not as rebellious. But how much does her being a reporter at Catco really make a difference? Over on Black Lightning, what does it mean for a superhero to be a principal and a teacher? There's a lot to go into. But first, let me tell you what I do here. What I do is I take apart stories. I do reviews as they come up. I do Throwback Thursdays almost every Thursday. And then I do I do theory videos like this one. If that sounds interesting and you want to think about what it means to be a storyteller, click the subscribe button and join our little community. So as someone who spent way too much time thinking about what makes a character who they are and what they are, I'm surprised I never really put this together. It wasn't until my friend gave me his college textbook, and it talks about all sorts of writing secrets, that the question was asked, what does the person do for a living, and does that matter? Is my history and my character just myself? Explained when I say that I worked in retail for a while and then went over to customer service and office work? What about when I say that someone that was a contemporary of mine stayed in customer service and stayed in retail specifically? Well, it at least explains why he hates Christmas so much. Alright, so, as we look into this, I started thinking about the whole Superman thing and the fact that, why is he a reporter? Well, a reporter is part of what makes him who he is. When they made Supergirl a reporter, they kind of took some of that because she's not the rebellious kid anymore. But I kind of understand why, because it's kind of an important part of his thing. They were kind of trying to merge them. And it's not just superheroes. Can you imagine this person not being an archaeologist or teacher? I mean, seriously, how much of his character is directly related by just Dr. Jones? And okay, we can all get a good laugh. He's more of an action hero than an archaeologist. But he brings so much of the love of history because he's a history teacher and archaeologist that he actually changed the idea of what being an archaeologist is. And we have many, many people who can thank these movies for their careers now. In fact, there was a pretty good joke in Legends of Tomorrow about this. One of the characters is a scientist cutting edge, the other one is an archaeologist. And the two of them end up in an episode where, through time travel, they change history so George Lucas never makes any movies. And White Canary, the leader of the team, says, wait a minute, one guy doesn't make movies, and all of a sudden my scientist and archaeologist are useless characters? What happened here? Well, because, like it said, people went into these things because of the jobs their counterparts had in movies. Specifically, Indiana Jones and sci-fi movies like Star Wars made people want to be scientists and archaeologists. And where I may not have any information or statistics to prove it, I bet ace reporters Lane and Kent have done more than their fair share to help people want to become journalists. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if you watch the news because someone, either a reporter, an anchor, someone, wanted to be Clark Kent. So let's really focus for a second and think about what your job means. And there's two ways we can go about this. If a character is specifically going to be doing their job as their main thrust of the story, and that job is super exciting, then that's kind of what they are, right? I mean, James Bond is a spy, Captain America is a super soldier, Tony Stark's a billionaire playboy philanthropist, But at the end of the day, even those are kind of not really what totally defines them. But alright, Dr. Jones is an archaeologist, but he's going to go on an action adventure. Or a teacher is going to travel through time in Timeless. Or something. What does it tell you? What's the difference between being a bank employee and being a rich entrepreneur? What's the difference even between working in a bank and working at the checkout at Walmart? Well, the people you interact with, how you interact with them, how you dress for work, how you see yourself, how much money you make, the way you interact with coworkers. Do the coworkers around you help shape your view? Do you think similarly or get disgusted with your fellow employees? Does your boss treat you with respect? All of those are parts of where you are and what you're doing. I personally, like I said, have worked in good call centers and bad call centers and for good offices and bad offices. But at the end of the day, I'm shaped by the offices I've worked in, the people I've worked with. And you spend like, what, 40-50% of your time, Monday through Friday, you spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week at your job. So when someone says this person's a reporter and this other person's a bank teller and this other person's a janitor, what shorthand do you see? What do you see there that defines the character, and what ways do you expect them to speak differently? Do you think a professional football player and an engineer are the same character if everything else is the same? What about a mechanic and a dog vet? What about a lawyer and a nurse? I mean, both of those are high end, went to lots of schooling, pretty smart people, right? What about something as simple as the difference between being an ace newspaper reporter and being the anchor at the 6 o'clock news? What do all these things tell you differently about a character? And why does that job matter? Now, I'm going to quickly run back through my own NaNoWriMo stories real quick. Let's see here. I had a vagabond who never held a real job as a main character. I had a student who was in her sophomore year of high school. I had a stripper slash hooker. I had a pirate. I've had a guy who used to be in the military and is quasi-retired. I have, in that same story, a guy who worked dead-end, go-nowhere jobs and never was able to hold one. Now both of them work together. What does it inform you about those characters? And sometimes, what do these things tell you accidentally? Well, I want you to think about this one. I had a friend. He is passed now, and I'm sorry, but he was an engineer. And when I stop and think about that, the fact that he was an engineer made him analytical and made him very much a problem solver with numbers. I have another friend who is working primarily in direct work that is physical labor. The two of them used to argue all the time. Now that I think back, I think about how those jobs shaped them, how those careers shaped them. So now I'm going to go back and look at some of my early writing, some of my stories that haven't been published, and see what the jobs each individual character have or didn't have interacts with them. Billionaire playboy, rich housewife, petulant teen, maybe a reporter or a teacher. What does that mean? And what does it showcase about the character? And how does it describe the character? Scientist and archaeologist, how much their life matters because of the characters they saw on a TV show. Alright, well, this was a weird one because I'm not quite fully formed on this theory, but I'd love to hear your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Do you think that there's a job, or that there should be a job that someone should write about that would change the way a character is? Or one that I missed that was obvious that informed a lot? Obviously, things like, cop dramas have cops in them, duh. But alright, let me know. And of course, click that like and share button. Help me grow this channel. And if you haven't already, click the subscribe button, because I'm learning a lot more every day, and I'd like you to try to weigh in on it. I'd love to figure out exactly what it means to have a character be and why we do what we do, as we get to the heart of all of the stories we tell. I hope you have a good night, and thanks for watching.